How would you rationalize what's happening with the Indonesian currency?
Yeah, so I think in terms of movements of volatility, it's a sense, I think there's a few factors. I think the tariff expectations, the tariff concerns is one. Second is in terms of domestic sort of situation. I mean, there are a few things going on in terms of growth, in terms of fiscal concerns, in terms of what's happening in terms of domestic legislation changes. That has led to some concerns of investors. So portfolio flows, portfolio outflows concerns coming out, but there are of course some elements of portfolio inflows that we're seeing in the middle at the start of the year, which were actually supporting the rupiah to some extent. But I think those overall concerns, together with some of the equity outflows that we saw last week, have led to a bit of sort of bearish sort of view on Indo assets since last week, or even slightly before that. And my sense is I think BI is doing a good job in some senses in trying to keep the rupiah stable through various ways, but also in terms of communications, I think has helped to some extent. But I think on the fiscal front, I think it's the big thing, and in terms of the domestic concerns, I think foreign investors are a bit concerned in terms of uncertainty. The question is, how long will it last? And it doesn't help that the external environment doesn't help in terms of dollar strength coming on stream. I think most are thinking that Indonesia is sort of not so tapped in terms of export markets to the rest of the world in a big way. But I think in terms of asset reallocations as part of the emerging market space, it could actually have an impact on the dollar rupiah when sort of portfolio investors pull out in emerging market risks.
So, Mandy asked this question yesterday, which I want to put to you. At what point does it become attractive? Because this could be a great entry point. If the market is down 12% and today we're seeing a bounce back of like 3.5%. Right? So a cheaper currency, a cheaper market is a great entry point for Indonesia, provided you get more clarity on how domestic policy measures kind of play out.
My view is I think medium to long term, resource-wise, population-wise, age of demographics, is positive in my view. If you can solve the communication on the fiscal concerns, mitigate the fiscal concerns, and some very clear, I mean BI is doing a good job in some ways, and in terms of the fiscal side, you can give clearer indication of the medium-term plans, the medium-term strategies to alleviate some of these concerns, it would help. But like I mentioned, I think everybody is facing the external sort of situation on the dollar front. You will see the dollar Asian currencies being pressured to the upside because of the tariff, depending on what happens next week in terms of reciprocal. If there's actually limited sort of negative news coming out next week, I think you could see dollar Asians falling off. But for rupiah, it's the fiscal front, I think. It need more clarity on that front.